It Takes 2.0. Marty Fox from Whitefox. Now here's the deal. Can't help myself. So I FaceTimed Gavin probably about 2-3 weeks ago and I said, Gav, what do you want me to talk about? Whitefox is 20 months old. I've just finished talking at ARIC. It's pretty much all out there about what the business is. And he said, legend, just give us your story. And I was like, all right, brother, I will. So I went down memory lane and I somehow found 37,000 photos that I had taken since my first day in real estate. And this is my story. Me on the left, my girlfriend at the time, Charlotte, we're 21 years of age, standing in New Zealand, and I was graduating from university. No intention of getting into real estate whatsoever. And we ended up moving back to Melbourne. I went for a lot of jobs in marketing, studied marketing and accounting, got nowhere. So I was making coffees, doing this and that and the other, having fun, but just didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. And her father actually owned a real estate agency. And over a family dinner one night, he said, Marty, just come be our cadet. Or as my Jewish friends in the office called me, their schlepper. So I did. That photo on the right is one of the very first things I ever did as an agent. So we had the photos taken, everything went live, I had no listings, and I printed about 30,000 A4 pieces of paper, and all I had on it was, who is Marty Fox? No branding, no number, no email, nothing. And they thought that I was mad. And I dropped that. I blanketed everything. St Kilda, Elwood, St Kilda West, that just went into a letterbox. And I just went crazy. And I did that because I wanted to make an impact. Literally, I was 21, 2 weeks in, and I just pumped that out to everyone, hoping that people would go to their letterbox, open up and go, who is Marty Fox? Hey, babe, who's this? It was about getting people saying my name. So at 21 years of age, first year in real estate, I was the schlepper. And at the start, this is where we were in time. Charlotte and I were renting a little apartment in Elwood, and I found this piece of paper that we had written down at that time. We had about $400 to fit out our apartment. That was Ruby the Red Rocket, the little Holden Nova, which is a fake Toyota Corolla. And that was my car for the entire first year in real estate. There was my baggy suit and a little deal that I was cutting under the Century 21 brand. I parked that car around the corner from every meeting, every listing, everything. I was always parked around the corner because in my mind, I thought I was in a friggin', in a Mercedes, but I just didn't want anyone to see what I was driving. That was my diary at the end of year one. 46 sales, of which I listed 21. Now, people always message me on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and they say, what would you do in your first year? Well, all I know is what I did. So I walked into that office as the schlepper, and I looked at all the other agents in the room, and I went, all right, beautiful. I went up to them all and I said, hey, when you finish your opens, I'm happy to do your callbacks. I'm happy to see who's interested and get you in a door. When you just list something, when you sell something, I'll go do your drops for you. I said to the receptionist, hey, when the books out the front go empty, just let me know and I'll go fill them up for you. I said to the best agent, I said, hey mate, anything you need, come to me. Building, pest inspection, second appointments, whatever you need, just call me. I was everyone in that office's assistant. I was the best schlepper they'd ever seen. And the only thing at that age that I could leverage was my ability to sell. And that's what I started doing. I started selling. And through selling, I was able to leverage that with the client and say, hey, you saw the level and attention of detail that I just gave you. I need to do that for you. And somehow I convinced 21 people to give me their trade-ins. Now, Tom and I did a talk years back. And I said this story about losing the listing, jumping back in my car, cranking Jay-Z, going back and getting that listing. That was in this year. And it was in Ruby the Red Rocket. And it was a $1.6 million house. But I was working towards a goal. And my goal was, I'm just selling, I'm selling. I need to start advising. But who could I advise? I was renting a flat, I was driving Ruby the Red Rocket, and I didn't really have much to advise people. I had no life experience. So my aim was to save up a deposit so that I could become a property investor. And that is a screenshot from when I finally hit, maybe I think, 25 grand. And for me, it was about transitioning from a seller into an advisor. That was the check that I used to buy the flat, $19,150. I borrowed 95%. I paid lender's mortgage insurance. So I started building a skill set on how to advise people. Yes, you can do it. Pay the lender's mortgage. Just jump in. The market's hot. Don't miss the boat. I did it. I've come through. Just go for it. So I was talking through experience, not just pushing because I wanted to cut the deal. Bought an unrenovated property so that I could learn about renovations, paint colours, lighting, kitchens, bathrooms, floorboards, furniture. We gutted the whole place. And then my ability at 22, going into apartments and saying, look, this is what you should do because this is what I've done. Bang, 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 bang. All of a sudden, I'm credible. Because the moment they saw me, they thought, who's this 22-year-old twig thinking that he's a rock star? But I was trying to build my skill set. And then I ended up leaving real estate. And it's funny because I've actually got an appreciation for when people say, yeah, it just wasn't me. I didn't feel right. I mean, I'd spent so much time at uni doing this double degree, then going into real estate, and I felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over. And just something in me said that I had to get out. I didn't realise how good real estate was at the time. So I tried to find a way out through something that I could invent. And I was the first guy in the country, I believe, to invent open for inspection software, which was a company that I founded at 22 called Touchbase. And I beta tested it with agencies all over Melbourne. And I got it to the point where about 6 months later, I actually sold it to the Real Estate Institute of Victoria for just under $1 million. And then I was out of real estate. I wasn't working on the weekends. I wasn't working late hours. The business was going really well. I was building a profile and a brand. I was still sort of within real estate because I was with real estate agents every day. But the hunger and the fire in me was pretty flat. And I missed cutting a deal. I missed the thrill of the kill. And I was trying to figure out when I'd actually come back in. And doing IT helped me connect with other people that I'd meet in the future because I can talk about my experiences in the business. The 2 little baked beans there, that was just a phase that I went through where I wrote a children's book about 2 baked beans that went backpacking around Australia. And guess where they ended up? In Cairns. It will be released, but I was waiting to have children. So when that book comes out, I'll sign you a copy. And that was the first new car that I ever bought. You know, I sold this IT company. I didn't go get my Porsche. I hadn't earned it yet. It was coming. And then later that year, I proposed to Charlotte. Christmas Day. Again, life experience. My ability to list and connect is through what I've done. I don't really talk too much real estate when I'm in these houses. I talk about life, and then we make a connection, and then I go in. So I was still working at Touchbase, and I thought, okay, when I go back into real estate, I need to up the game because I'm going back into an apartment market. I want to be able to advise people on things in the luxury market that I've never been able to do so. So I had the cash flow, I had the deposits there, and Charlotte and I said, all right, let's be property flippers. So I do the Touchbase 9 to 5, and this was all about increasing our skill set. So we'd buy little houses, we'd do them up, and it's amazing. When you own a property and when you speak to these vendors, they love their hedge, they love their tile, they love this, they love that. They love where they live. They're paying a shitload to be there. So I wanted to make sure that I was on that same level of love through experience. So I learned about trees and gardening and the different specific types of flowers and trees. I learnt about tiles and which way they should be laid for different periods of homes. I went through architects and spent $20,000 to see the absolute shit fight you need to go through in order to get something through council. So that when we meet people and they say, look, you know, we've got these plans, we want to do this, we want to do that, I can say, do you know what? I went through the same thing. But you know what? We pulled the pin because we're probably going to overcapitalise. These little things and these little moments in my life have helped me become the lister and the seller that I am today, because this was what path I was on. It was just the life that I was living. And then we upped the game a bit. We started getting bigger properties, started spending $8,000 on these particular lights because I'd see these lights all over these luxury properties and I thought, I need to learn about these glass blown Italian friggin' light fittings. English tapware, $4,000 on a tap. Stupid. But then they see this young guy walk into the room. Hey, I know where you got that tap from. I had one too. And they go, oh, really? It's about connecting. That tap has literally got me listings. The artwork that I've got has gotten us listings. And learning about period detailing. I can walk into period homes, literally, you walk and you go, replica vent, where'd you get that from? And they go, oh, how'd you know it wasn't real? It's because I know, because the real ones are vented, the fake ones are not vented. Little things that make you stand out in a listing, you wouldn't believe. It's about your knowledge on so many little 1%ers. And we sold that one. Learned about landscaping, herringbone tiling, this, that, and the other, just little things. And then I was finally ready to come back. We had done the flips, my skill set was up, and I knew that I could come back into real estate and give it a red hot crack. But I came back with a purpose. So I went back to my previous employer, the bald man, and I said, G-Dub, I'm coming back. I don't know where I want to be, but I'm talking to you. I said, I will come back into real estate as long as I can be a director of the business. He laughed. So I'd only been an agent for 2 years prior. And he said, shut up. I said, no, I'm dead serious. And he goes, look, I just can't do that. My other business partner just will not allow that. I said, okay, well, I need you to dangle a carrot. I have to work towards something. And everyone in this room should be getting up in the morning and working towards something. You can't just be getting up willy-nilly, having your coffee, putting on your fancy suit and thinking shit's hunky-dory if you don't know what you're chasing that day. So I said to him, give me a carrot, but if I get that carrot, you have to put my name on this building. And he said, all right, do 750 grand GCI, and we'll make you a director. And we'll give you an option to buy into the rent roll. I said, beautiful, that's all I needed. So I said, in order for me to do that, I need an office, because I don't want to be around any of you blokes. Because they bring you down. Fucking old school shit. I was like, just give me an office. So I sniffed out a funny little office under a train station. Literally, I had a train going over me every 7 minutes in Balaclava. Big Jewish area in Melbourne. And my competitor, Gary Peer, literally had the market tied up. They have 90% market share. So I really had my back up against the wall, and I had an average sale price of about $650. So how the hell am I going to do $750,000? I've got no database. I've been out of real estate for 2 years. It was hectic. But I said, get me the office, let me hire 4 people, and I'll go for it. The 4 people that I'd hired, one was a tiler, one was working at Optus, and the other bloke was pouring beers at a pub down the road. That was my team. Brendan, Grace, and Jesse, and me. So anyway, we hustled, and we went that hard. I had my little spot, and it was just constant. I was trialing everything. I was doing handwritten things. I was saying I had a buy for your house. Can you let me in? I didn't have anything, but I was just trying to put these deals together. And the market was flying at the time as well, so I thought, beautiful, I'm going to leverage this. The market's flying, we're auctioning, so I started doing 50-50 kickers. Hands up if you know what a 50-50 kicker is. No one. All right. So I'd go into the property and I'd say, look, how much do you want for the house? And they'd say, oh, look, we'd be happy with $750. I said, beautiful. Well, look, I charge 1.8%. I'll lower that down to about 1.5% plus GST. And if you're happy with, what price did I say? 700. I'd usually add 30 or 40 grand to it. I'd say, well, what if you got 730 or 740 or 750? Would you be over the moon? And they said, come on. I was like, would you be over the moon? They said, yeah. I said, fantastic. Well, over that amount, let's go 50-50 in the dollar. So if you get your 760 and you wanted 750, you take 5, I take 5. If you get 100 over, you take 50, I take 50. So I'd lower my base com. I'd then increase their favourite price by another, 20, 30 grand so that, my conscience was okay. And 2 out of 10 would freaking go ballistic. And I'd be picking up $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 checks on flats. That's how I hit $780,000 in that first year. I did a lot of deals. So I became a director of the business, got my little card, and I thought, fantastic, now I can leverage even further. I'm 24. I'm the director of this company that's got 3 offices. I'm doing deals. My team's solid. So I started just trialing things. And to point out as well, in that first year as a schlepper, I wrote down Whitefox at 21. So it was always in here. Just had to find the right time. So I try to do things with this brand to see if I can, trial things, elevate them, started using cars, cut a deal with BMW at the time. I figured out ways in which to give away a car for free, essentially, without having to dip into my pocket. Simple. If we were charging 1.8% on most deals, I increase it to 2.2, and I give the vendor an option. Look, if you want a 1 in 20 chance to win this car that's worth 50 grand, 1 in 20, 1, you have to pay your ads up front, 2, you have to auction, and 3, it's a 2.2% com, which is pretty standard. I got to drive around in a free car. I then got to give away a free car. Great. Client got a free car. It was win-win-win. So I was just trialing different marketing things that could help elevate what I was doing in the marketplace. I was calling big auctions. I started doing, a bit more print and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not print now. I've been there, done that. And that little photo of that house in the right-hand bottom corner, that's just an example of connecting. I walked into that house. She had been chased up by the same agent for 20-odd years. She opened the door and I went, it's a Lagotto Ramagnolo, truffle sniffing dog. And she went, how did you know that? Literally, I got the listing because we connected. Little weird things. Know your dogs, know your cats, know what there could be in that house. Just know your shit. And then I started getting on the radar of people in the industry. Tom Panos, that was a really nervous moment. I flew up, I'm thinking, shit, I'm getting this first interview. What's this guy going to do? He's hectic online. And I was like, it's either going to be terrible and we're going to hate each other, or we're actually going to like each other. And he was all right. He's good. He's the best. And we gave this interview and it went nuts. People really connected with it because I was talking the truth. I wasn't sugarcoating anything. It was the start of me talking about what had happened, how we got to where we got to. The other photos, a place that Charlotte and I bought in the commercial space. I'd never done anything commercial. I was meeting all these people in commercial. I thought, I'd love to do something commercial. So we did. Another really good flip. But it then gave me the ability to talk to people in the commercial space that had dual zoning, mixed-use residential and commercial, which I bought as a commercial but then sold as a resi. Did a conversion of title. So then having that as a little thing up my sleeve to use as well was really powerful. Then at around this sort of time, this crazy man decides to add me on Facebook, and I had no idea who he was. His name was Ryan J. Fisher. And he came down to Melbourne and we connected. He was working at Harvey Norman. I needed a vacuum. He sorted me out. I didn't actually buy it in the end, but we connected. And we met and he started working in Melbourne. And I said, look, I think I want to do this company, Whitefox. I'm about to head overseas for 8 weeks on my first trip overseas with Charlotte, first Europe trip, and I really like you. We connected like in the space of two weeks. I said, leave wherever you're working. I've got about 20 mil worth of stock listed. I'll teach you real estate in the space of 2 weeks, literally up on the couch at home. And while I'm away, feed the dog, feed the cat, don't burn the house down. I'm putting cameras around so I'll know what you're doing. I'll pay you $5,000 a month, transferred it on the spot. And I said, just sell my shit. And everything that you sell, I'll give you 10%. We FaceTimed every day. And he'd be in the bath, FaceTiming. I'd be in Positano, FaceTiming. He sold everything. Literally everything that I had was gone. I got back and I said, beautiful. I'm resigning. I'm done. I'm starting Whitefox. And that's exactly what I did. And we started planning and building what Whitefox would be about. 29 years of age. Under 2 years ago. And the catalyst was the building. Charlotte and I went to the market and she said, oh, that's a nice building, bub. You should have a crack at that. Charlotte doesn't ask for anything. Doesn't do my head in, super chilled, complete opposite to me. And when she says to do something, I fucking jump. And I went, I'll get that. And I got the most amazing lease, 6 months rent-free, nothing down paid. I said I'd renovate it. I was a renovator. I knew exactly what to do. And I got it. I looked at my little finances and I thought, beautiful. June, July, August, September, I had 141 grand coming in. I can do this. This is easy. Charlotte and I started renovating the building and I was officially no longer an agent. Previous employer, business partner and father-in-law thought it would be pretty good to just put a 6-month non-compete clause on me. And I just went, I cannot believe it. This is hectic. So I thought, it is what it is. I'll get through. The photo on the right is just a bit of a representation because that photo was taken the first weekend that I didn't work, and it felt weird because I was used to going to opens or auctions or this or that. And I jumped in the car, just drove around, and I saw an auction being called. I've always got stuff in the car, so I had a bottle of French in the boot, and I saw this guy win this auction. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, "Oi, mate, congrats. Good shit. Here's a bottle of champagne. Take it easy." And I left. And why that's up there now, last week I listed his house. 3 years later, or 2 years later. Crazy. The universe. And so with the 6-month probation, I hit sort of like a quarter-life crisis. So I bought the classic car, bought the holiday house. No. What ended up happening was I knew that when I launched Whitefox, I needed to stand out. So I got rid of my normal car, and I thought, I'm going to be the guy in the green MG, driving all around town. It was my daily. This thing, like, stuffed my lower back. No airbags, nothing. And I was hooning around, like, town all day long, top off. By the end of summer, I literally looked Indian. And it was great. People were like, "Marty's lost the plot." I was like, "No, I haven't. You don't know what I'm doing." And then one day we decided to go down the peninsula to Red Hill to, have a family lunch. And my mum and I walked into this house, and I thought, shit, this is a steal. The agent literally said to me, "Oh, mate, like, just put in an offer, man. Like, you'll get this really, really well." And I thought, this is not actually happening. Snagged a place down the peninsula, prime real estate, for 560 grand, and 2 months later it was worth $1 million. And my mum walked in, she said, "Snap it." So we did. So we had 6 months off. I thought, may as well try and squeeze in another reno. So Charlotte and I literally lived and breathed this place down the peninsula, and as it turns out, she ended up falling pregnant, which was pretty cool. Now, that was the first logo that I ever did. And my dream's always been Melbourne, Sydney, New York. And everyone was saying, "What are you doing? What are you this? What are you that?" And I was just like, you know what? You can get your opinion and you can moisten it right up, go on your side and shove it right up your rectum. I don't need to hear it. I know what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is very bold, it's very scary, but I've got one crack. And finally, because I tried to keep my mobile number and I didn't succeed in the end, and I finally gave in. So my father-in-law took my bloody phone number off me. I missed a lot of family lunches and dinners in the months, after that. And that was the first post that I ever put out on social media. New deal, new digits. So here I was doing what I had done 2.5 years prior. I'd been in this position before, so I wasn't scared. I've come into the industry off a break. I've come into the industry with a new phone number and new email address. This was not really that scary for me. And it was all on my shoulders. This was now passion. This was different. So if I did 750 in that first year selling flats, I knew that I could crack 2 million first year under Whitefox. And everyone said, bullshit. And I did. Now, people always ask, how did you do it? How do you pull this whole thing together? It's not fucking rocket science. These were some of my earliest checklists. Some of these checklists are ridiculous. The first one was the different rooms in that building. Desktop computer, bin, signage, artwork, paper trays, garden room, chairs, fixed bookcase, folders, mirror, bin, boardroom, bin, kitchen, bin. I'm writing down to remind myself to buy a bin. But it's like in the video that I just showed it before I started talking. It's about starting, momentum. I'd never started a real estate agency before, but I knew if I broke it down step by step by step by step, I couldn't fail. And then the lists got a little bit more intricate. Register the name, buy the domain, meet an accountant, find someone to do my branding, call the board companies. The next one, finalise brand option, engage my social media things, this, that, and the other. I just broke it all down. And my thing was every single month, I just got to do 10 things. If it was 20, I'd get sidetracked. If it was 3, well, come on. 10 was good. 10 I could tick. 10 would give me momentum. And it was just me in my head. The list just got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where, we reinvented everything internally. I didn't want anything off the shelf. We had to reinvent every form possible. And 2 weeks before we opened, I wrote myself this one. Is there anything that I'm missing which will prevent me from opening my business? And there was a shitload. I still didn't have my license. I still didn't have my website. I still didn't have my manuals. I still didn't have a phone system set up. I still didn't have templates. I still didn't have business cards. I still didn't have branding online. I still didn't have folders to give to clients. And I still didn't have signage up. But you know what happens? You get there. Every week I'd still meet with my creative team on the left. Team started as one. That language in the middle was the first bit of language I ever saw. Whitefox, the deal. And here's the deal. We're full of it. And that's when I fell in love. And then you throw a curveball in there and friggin' Charlotte's pregnant. Just before opening a business. Hectic and stressful. There's no good time to start a family and there's no perfect time to start a business. So I thought, let's just do it all at the same time. We're bold, we're very matter-of-fact in our communication, and we're extremely polished. That's all the brand was about. And I knew if I stuck to those 3 things, we'd be successful. And I believed that it was a brand that the market needed, only dealing in luxury property with high-impact marketing, with no print media, and with no core area. And a brand that had a lot of personality. I was then very smart because I knew that people, if we were successful, would try and copy. But if we weren't, then they'd laugh. But that was not an option. So I made sure in these early stages, after investing quite a lot of money into this thing, we protected everything. And it's very, very important to protect whatever it is that you're doing. People say the offices are so different. Who designed them? My wife did. They're little cutouts from West Elm and stuff on the bed. It's no fancy shit. It's just do what you do. But then we matched it with really nice artwork. Dana Broadhurst. We invented our own little property files. That was the board. We started building everything. Brochures. We were open and my cards were splitting apart. Email signatures weren't working. We were designing up little open for inspection boards. First board at the factory. I was wrapped. Things just started happening. The photo shoot prior to launch. And this is a really important photo on the right. Every single person in that photo, other than myself and Charlotte, are no longer in the business. You can't be scared to start. You can't be scared to hire. But what I have learned is that you have to be very, very slow to hire and very quick to fire. And what I was very quick to hire and very slow to fire. And at 29, we're open for business. 1st of Feb last year. And the dream became a reality. 10 years after I'd written it down. We went live. Our collateral was schmick. And the first day that we opened, I wasn't worried about listing and selling. We threw a big party. And we were hungover for about 3 days. And yes, the website was still glitching and things were happening, but they're the issues that arise day to day if you start your own business. The people in the middle lived in that house for 37 years. And they gave me my first listing just under $3 million. They were hounded by everyone in that suburb, which was out of my core area, for years. I was so thankful that they gave me that listing. I sold it in 2 weeks, and I named my boardroom after them. They were the Long family, so I called it the Long Room. That was the first official board that went up. That was the first official commission check to come in. Just great moments. The apartment on the right was a little off market that I had sold to my neighbour at the time's daughter, who is now my EA. Things just happen. That was the board after the first month of opening Whitefox. We had 6 listed, 20 mil worth of stock listed. We had 4 off markets. We had sold 5. And that photo on the right was Ryan Fisher's first month one-on-one meeting. He'd only done 15,000 in GCI, and the bottom of it says, keep training. That guy went on to write over $1 million. Then it was about standing out. And this is where a lot of the profiles started to get built. Really smart sold boards. Great copy, great advertising, a lot of eyeballs, and leveraged all over social media. And obviously people try to copy, but people never forget the original. And it was about personal growth. Started speaking at these sorts of events. I got asked to speak at ARIC after 4 months of opening last year. Not this year, but last year. But then little Freddie came, and you have to put family first. Real estate's third in line. It's family, health, real estate. This shit comes and goes. It's not that important. This is what you live for. Gave away all my suits on social. I thought, I'm not going to wear suits again, so I gave them away. Bought a bigger family home, and I achieved that little goal, which was I wanted to buy the car that I used to drive as a baby. Turned 30, went and got it. And I leveraged it in property videos. And I connected with a lot of different people selling luxury real estate who had similar cars that couldn't believe that I had one. And social media, without it, or if you don't have it, you're crazy. We would leverage everything. Every little win we would put up. Every little sold board, every transaction, every listing, every deal. On both sides, you can leverage as long as you make it look different. Organically grown to 7,500 followers with a 10% engagement rate. Speak to any social media firm and they try their best to get you a 2%. We're at a 10%. Build an attraction business. I don't prospect. I don't even do call sessions. But when something comes in, I nail it. I don't let it go. I'm like straight onto it. And we leverage what's happening in the marketplace. So if Nike do something, we'll do something. The right photo is the amount of clicks. We don't do letterbox shops and stuff. We're not always, out there stomping the pavement, because I find that you can get so much click-through on social media. 22,000 clicks, 16,000 clicks, 12,000 clicks. Build good content and leverage it. If you're starting a business, you do property management. Everyone's like, don't do property management, it's too hard. Yes, it is hard, but that's your asset. That's a photo from the very first property that we listed on the left. And then I thought, how do we fast track building a rent roll? Beautiful. Let's just send people to New York for New Year's Eve. So we launched a campaign 2 months ago and said, you bring your property over to Whitefox. The first 50, we'll send you to New York for New Year's Eve. 15 grand it's probably going to cost us. But 50 properties at an average rent of 750,000 all of a sudden is an asset of about 400,000. Pretty good return on investment. And then we've given the same attention to detail to property management as we have with sales, which I don't think most companies do. And to wrap things up, the last 3 months, it's been, again, it's just life. Second office, had the ability to do it, so we did. Second baby, now coming. You see there's a bit of a commonality, new office, baby, Whitefox Sydney, maybe twins. And then I did go back and speak at ARIC, which was an amazing experience. Last 3 months, I have been FaceTiming everyone. I'm almost not calling people anymore. Can't FaceTime? Call me back, FaceTime. Your ability to connect goes through the roof. Doesn't matter how old they are, you just do it. We employed this lady here to run Whitefox lifestyle and social events. Every 3 months, we put on a party. Vendors, buyers of the same property, it doesn't matter. Get in the room and let's rock and roll. But it has to be in spaces that they could never normally get into. And work on collaborations, which we've just signed on as an ambassador for Mercedes-Benz in Melbourne. And ladies and gentlemen, it's all about your story. It's about how you play the cards that you're dealt. I've had some good cards and I've had some bad cards, but I know how to play my hand. And that's what this game's all about. You've got to pick your mark, you've got to believe in everything that you're doing, and you just need to go hard and be true to you. And that's it. Thank you for listening.